All right, guys. So there's a lot of people that I know that are just having a hard time experiencing and understanding what's good for them. And the reason for this is because we're creatures of habit. We continuously keep doing the same thing, hoping for a different result. I believe Albert Einstein said this, where insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, until and expecting a different result. Could have said that better. But because of that, right, we don't ask this simple question, which is a lot of things feel good in life. A lot of experiences feel good, but we don't ask, is it good for us? And when you think about that, you're challenging yourself to understand the activity or experience that you just partook in, to understand going forward, is that something I should do? But because we don't ask this question, we keep doing the same things. So some experiences that feel good, for a lot of people, they love to drink alcohol, makes them feel good, or the thought of it makes them feel good. Eating junk food, the thought of it feels good. Playing video games, right? Like these all you get this rush of dopamine thinking about that activity or experience. But there's also things like reading books, exercising, learning a new skill. Those also feel good, right? It's just because we don't ask this question, is it good for us? We continuously keep doing the negative things most likely. And the way that I look at this, right, to understand if it's good for you or not, is after that experience has happened, okay, how do you feel the next day, like the next week even, next month? What is that after effect feeling for you? This is what I did, because when I was in college, I was in a fraternity, and there was multiple times a week where we would have NBA 2K tournaments, just a video game. And these tournaments would go on for like 2-3 hours. And they would just be like on a Tuesday. I believe it was like Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm just there hanging out because it feels like it's a good time. You're just hanging out with the boys. You're playing video games. And what I realized, right, is that I would continuously keep doing this. But then as soon as that time was done, right, like as soon as we were done playing video games and I went back to my life, I started automatically thinking about everything that I need to do. Oh man, I have a test coming up in a couple days. Oh man, this assignment's due tomorrow. Shit, I gotta study for this quiz. Like there was all these things that would just rush in my mind because I didn't necessarily gain any value out of playing these video games and just hanging out for hours. There was no after effect. There was no benefit after the fact. And I felt that immediately, but like I said, you can even experience it the next day or two if you drink alcohol, right? If you're hungover, it feels fun in the moment, but the next day you're hungover, you're like, man, why did I drink that much? So with the video games, that's what was happening to me, and I kept doing this. And if I had to look back and go, if I had to go back now, I wish I asked myself, is this good for me? And it wasn't, clearly. And being able to understand that is important. Now, the question you guys are probably all wondering is how do you determine, like, what are the steps to be able to overcome if something's not good for you? So this is how I break it down. First of all, I've experienced both sides, right? Like now I'm reading, I'll exercise, I'm learning a new skill set, YouTube, right? And I did the whole thing. I didn't do the junk food, but I did the video games and I did the alcohol all the time. So how did I overcome that? Okay, so the first step is you need to be willing to have perspective. As in, you understand that these things over here, alcohol, junk food, video games, are not serving me that nice feeling that I want, right? Like that enjoyment that I get after the fact from it. So you have to experience that enough times first, okay? To understand that it's not for you. Then you need to be willing to have another perspective. As in, okay, this isn't good for me. Why not try something different? Maybe I'll read a book. I started reading consistently like the beginning of this year. So let's see what this does for me. And initially, it may not sound enticing, because that's how I felt, but as soon as you just start reading, you just kind of go for it, then your mind starts to get immersed into what it is that you're reading, what you're doing, because it feels good. Because I'm actually learning something. I started to learn new words easier. My vocabulary wasn't as great. My ability to focus wasn't as great prior to reading, and I noticed a difference there. I was noticing these after effects that were greater than just the moment itself. Think about that. Like, the moment itself should not be greater than the after effects that should come from that result or from that experience. So I noticed how reading was feeling better as I kept doing it. And then exercising, that's always been there for me. So I always knew the benefits of that, right? Like, the workout was hard, but I felt, once I was in the zone, it felt good. But then how I looked after, how I felt mentally sharper after was always greater than the workout itself. So I kept thinking about it like that. When you have that perspective, now that means that you were willing to learn. Because if you don't have perspective, think about that. You're not going to learn. You're going to just stick in your own ways, stick to the same things, keep doing the same thing, hoping for a different result. Like, no, but when you have perspective, that means that you took the chance and you took that leap of faith of trying to learn something different to see if something is actually better for you out there. Now, because you were willing to learn, now you grow. And when you grow as a person, that means you are doing things that feel good, but are also good for you. So now you're at this point in life where you're doing the right things, right? Now you're at this point where, I'm reading every single night because I look forward to it. Exercising all the time, trying to get better at different areas of craft. Like, I'm a software engineer, so there's certain languages I'm learning at work right now that are exciting, and then I'm also trying to get better at speaking as well and presenting myself in a better light and things of that nature. So those things, because I started to adapt in that area, now it's like, it's interesting. Now it's like, man, this is great for me. So now these old things that I used to do, right, playing video games and hanging out with the boys and just talking about whatever the case may be with these guys that I don't even talk to anymore, like, I'm not even interested in doing those things anymore. And that's how you'll be able to understand and feel better when it comes to those areas again in life, as in if it ever does present, like someone's hitting you up to go play video games, go out and drink. I'm not saying never do those things, but you now know that those things don't serve you the same joy and fulfillment after the fact versus the things that you decide to take a leap of faith on and trying something else instead. And this will help you be able to focus on the things that are necessary for you in your life. And you'll just be able to grow as a person. And ultimately, that's what everyone wants to do, right? We want to become better as time goes on. We don't want to have our age evolving or growing, and then we're not growing inside of us. That's when people start to feel depressed and anxious, things of that nature. So I'm trying to help avoid that for you guys. But I hope you guys like this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't. Share with a friend that's just constantly keep doing the same habits and hoping for a different result. Have them take a step back, ask this question. It feels good, but is it good for me? Right? We need to start asking ourselves these questions, because that's what will allow you to progress yourself in life and maximize what life has to offer you. So I hope you guys like this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.